Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles.
Dear listeners, today we bring a story of a man who finds his wife cheating on him, and he decides to give her poetic justice. The sun peeked through the curtains, casting a warm glow over my face. For 2 decades, I woke up with one thought in mind: my love for Mary. Our journey had flown by, a seamless blend of laughter and shared dreams. To the outside world, it appeared as close to perfection as one could get. Friends often praised us, saying Mary and our relationship goals. Mornings in our home were filled with playful banter over breakfast. Evenings saw us cozied up on the couch, watching our favorite shows or discussing our kids' day. Lily and Max, our 2 children, were the apples of our eyes. Our lively dog, Bella, was the cherry on top of our family. Our house, surrounded by a white picket fence, felt like a living dream. I found myself reminiscing about our early days, when we were young, wild, and deeply in love. I recalled the sparkle in Mary's eyes when I surprised her with a bouquet of roses, or the moments we danced in the rain, carefree and engulfed in pure magic. But of late, subtle changes began to creep into our seemingly idyllic life, nothing alarming, just little things that felt off. Mary seemed more distant, her laughter a bit restrained, her gaze often lost in thought. There were times when she came home late from work, attributing it to unexpected meetings or office events. I tried not to dwell on these changes. After all, we had built a foundation of trust over 2 decades. Doubting Mary over trivial matters felt wrong. At night, as I lay in bed with Mary's back turned to me, a tiny nagging voice whispered, "What if there's more to this story?" I quickly shushed it away, pulling Mary close and reminding myself of the love-filled years we had shared. As days turned into weeks, the feeling of unease grew stronger. I couldn't shake the idea that maybe my perfect life wasn't so perfect after all. The days took on a new hue for me, a shade darker than I was used to. Each moment felt stretched, and every second was a question mark. It all began on a quiet Saturday afternoon. Mary had gone out for one of her frequent work meetings, and I was sorting through our bedroom closet, attempting to find an old photo album. My intention was to take a trip down memory lane, reminding myself of better times. Delving deeper into the closet, a small glint caught my eye. Pushing aside old scarves and winter hats, I found a phone I didn't recognize. It wasn't Mary's usual phone, that much was certain. Curiosity piqued. I turned it on. The screen came alive, displaying numerous notifications from someone named Alex. The messages seemed intimate, with words like "miss you" and "can't wait to see you again." A cold wave of realization washed over me, and my heart raced. The weight of suspicion pressed down on me. Could Mary really be seeing someone else? I didn't want to jump to conclusions, desperately searching for an innocent explanation. Maybe Alex was just a close friend or a relative Mary had reconnected with. Trying to calm my racing heart, I decided to play detective. For the next few days, I paid closer attention to Mary's habits, the late-night phone calls, the giggles, the secret smiles to herself. It all started making a grim kind of sense. One evening, fueled by a mix of desperation and determination, I took a bold step. I decided to follow Mary discreetly. I watched as she entered a quaint little cafe and settled into a corner booth. Soon after, a man walked in, Alex. They embraced warmly, a little too warmly for just friends. I felt like a voyeur, peering into a world I wasn't meant to see. The sight of Mary laughing, her hand lingering on Alex's, shattered me. I wanted to confront them right there, ask them how they could betray my trust, but something held me back. The pain was intense, but I wasn't one to make impulsive decisions. I needed to be sure. I needed a plan. Driving home that night, the weight of the world pressed down on me. The woman I had loved and trusted for 20 years was living a double life. The pain of betrayal was sharp and raw, but I wasn't going to let this slide. I was going to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. As the days passed, my initial shock morphed into a steely determination. I felt like a man reborn, with newfound clarity of purpose. Every fiber of my being screamed for justice, but I was determined to act wisely, not impulsively. I realized that for maximum impact, and to ensure Mary truly understood the depth of her betrayal, I needed to confront her in a way she would never forget. The idea struck me one quiet evening as I was thumbing through old family photos, a dinner party with all of Mary's family, the very people she had grown up with. The ones who had celebrated our union and been part of every significant chapter of our lives. They all loved and respected me. Revealing the truth in front of them would hit Mary the hardest, making her realize the gravity of her actions. I began my preparations. Invitations were sent out under the guise of a surprise anniversary party that I was secretly planning for Mary. Her family, completely unaware of the storm brewing, responded with enthusiasm, touched by my romantic gesture. Meanwhile, I started gathering evidence, discreetly documenting Mary's secret rendezvous with Alex. I made sure to have video proof of their intimate moments, an emotionally difficult task as each captured moment felt like a dagger through my heart. Fueled by a burning desire for justice, I pressed on. As the date of the dinner neared, I felt a mixture of dread and anticipation. I arranged for the children to spend the weekend at a friend's house, wanting to shield them from the impending fallout. The dining table was set to perfection, complete with Mary's favorite flowers and dishes. The atmosphere was festive, with soft music playing in the background. But beneath the veneer of celebration, a storm was brewing. Guests started arriving, filling the house with laughter and warmth. Mary was touched, her eyes misted with emotion. Little did she know that this would be a night she'd never forget. As the main course was served and the room echoed with happy chatter, I took a deep breath, preparing myself for the most challenging act of my life. The plan was set in motion, and there was no turning back now. The moment of reckoning was here. The atmosphere in the room was thick with celebration. Memories of the past 20 years were shared, glasses clinked, and the air was filled with hearty laughter. Each of these sounds and sights seemed surreal to me, like a distant echo, as I waited for the right moment. Mary was radiant, her eyes gleaming with surprise and appreciation for what she believed to be a touching gesture by her husband. She leaned in to whisper, "This is the sweetest thing you've ever done for me." Inside, tormented by turmoil, I nodded, masking my emotions with a practiced smile. As dessert was served, I felt it was time. I stood up, tapping my glass gently, the universal signal for attention. The room fell silent, all eyes on me expectantly, awaiting a loving speech. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began, my voice steady. "Today, I wanted to talk about trust, about love, and about truth." The guests exchanged glances, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. Mary looked up, her face a mask of confusion. "Over the years, we've all shared numerous happy moments, haven't we? But today, I want to share something else, something I recently discovered." I paused, taking out a small remote from my pocket. The lights dimmed, and the large TV screen in the living room flickered to life. Displayed on it were clips of Mary and Alex, their secret meetings and intimate conversations. The room was engulfed in stunned silence, each scene more incriminating than the last. As the video ended, the weight of shock was palpable. Mary's face had drained of all color, her eyes wide with disbelief and horror. Her family members stared at the screen, then at her, seeking some kind of explanation. "How could you, John?" The voice trembled. 20 years, Mary. Was it all a lie?" Mary's voice broke as she tried to respond. "John, I never meant for any of this to happen. It was a mistake." But I cut her off. A mistake? For how long? How many days, weeks, and months was this mistake continuing? The room echoed with murmured whispers and gasps. Mary's siblings tried to intervene, asking me to perhaps discuss this privately, but I stood firm. "In front of the very family that celebrated our union, I want you to know the depth of your betrayal," I declared, my eyes filled with tears. "I gave you everything, and this is what I get in return." Mary was sobbing now, her voice a mix of regret and desperation. "I'm so sorry, John. Please, let's talk away from all this." But I had said all I wanted to. "You need to leave, Mary. Leave our home." In the days following the confrontation, my home, which once buzzed with life and laughter, transformed into a silent monument to the love that once was. The deafening silence was often interrupted by the constant ringing of the telephone and knocks on the door. But I couldn't bear to face the world or its barrage of questions and sympathies. Every corner of the house held a memory: the couch where we'd cuddled and watched countless movies, the kitchen where we'd cooked meals together, even the small dent in the wall from when we tried, laughingly and unsuccessfully, to move in a too-large bookshelf. Everything echoed Mary's absence. One evening, as I was aimlessly wandering from room to room, I stumbled upon the old photo album I had been searching for weeks earlier. Opening it, I was flooded with a tidal wave of memories: our wedding day, the birth of our kids, holidays, and birthdays. I realized that while the pain of betrayal was intense, the pain of loss was even deeper. Our children, Lily and Max, were equally heartbroken. They had known their family as a pillar of love and trust, and seeing it crumble was beyond comprehension. The children missed their mother, but also grappled with feelings of anger and disappointment. I did my best to shield them, ensuring they knew they were loved and that their parents' issues weren't their fault. One day, a letter arrived, written in Mary's handwriting. She expressed her guilt, regrets, and undying love for me. She spoke of the loneliness that led her down a path she regretted with every fiber of her being. She begged for a chance to explain, not to mend our relationship, but to provide closure. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet. Seeing Mary again was like reopening a wound. She looked haggard, a shadow of her former self. Our conversation was filled with tears, regrets, and some semblance of understanding. Mary explained how her relationship with Alex had begun innocently, but how she lost her way amidst feelings of neglect and the need for attention. While I could understand, I couldn't forget or forgive. The trust that was the bedrock of our relationship had crumbled, and there was no going back. We parted ways with a promise to co-parent our children and keep their well-being at the forefront. As the weeks turned into months, I slowly began to rebuild my life. I dove into my work, spent quality time with Lily and Max, and sought therapy to process my pain. Friends and family rallied around me, their support acting as a balm for my wounded soul. Despite the hurt and betrayal, I realized I needed to let go of the past to embrace the future. While I might never fully heal, I was determined to find happiness again, not just for myself but for my children. The aftermath of the storm was painful, but as with all storms, it also brought clarity and, in time, a new beginning.
Dear listener, if you have reached this far, please click on the subscribe button. It will be a great help.